are with another deliciously motivating mindset conversation. This is one of my favorite things to do, is sit and have a chat with my dear friend Deb. How are you doing, Deb?
Great. Deb from New Zealand, all the way from New Zealand.
All the way from New Zealand, yes.
All the way from New Zealand. Hi, Moira. Hi, listeners. I'm really looking forward to today's topic. Oh my gosh. I think I say this is my favorite topic. This is a great one. This is a great one for my life right now.
Yeah, me too. And it's actually we've talked before about life purpose. Part of my purpose is teaching people spiritual responsibility. We're going to talk about responsibility today. But before we do, we like to do this little thing of just checking in and asking and inviting you, to our listeners, to check in. How are you doing emotionally? Where are you on that scale, 0 to 10? 10's feeling overjoyed, exuberant, everything's awesome, and 0 pretty down there, not feeling anything. And just because, we actually all do go up and down that emotional scale, and it's just really important piece to just check in intermittently. How's things going? So Deb, where would you put yourself today?
Well, we've chatted for a couple of hours before we did this call.
Yes,
so, as we sometimes do every time. So for me, I would definitely say I'm a 7 or 8, not 100%. No, definitely not a 10, but right up there, energized, ready to crack on with my day.
Yeah. And I'm with you. I'd say I was a 7 or 8. I think that, and to your point, Deb, you and I always do talk and hold space for one another, which is so awesome. Even when we are a wee bit lower, it's our sharing and holding space for one another that does tend to raise. So I'm going to put myself around 7 or 8. And like I said, I just encourage the listeners to make a note. Just make a wee mental note. Write it down if you need to. I would need to write it down because I'll forget.
Yeah, I think I think we'll both be right as. Yeah, I feel 7 or 8. I feel incongruent with who I am. My body feels comfortable, and lack of sleep or eating junk or anything, can completely throw you out. But today, I think, from our conversation prior.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And so what our topic is, and with these conversations, what we love to do is we pick topics and we share and riff on them and unpack some kind of uncomfortable areas for people sometimes. But this one is really near and dear to my heart, and I know it is for you too, Deb, is the idea about taking responsibility for your life journey. And sometimes people think that's a big, heavy thing. There's a lot of people that I know, I've worked with, I've interacted with, that have a hard time with that word responsibility because they think it's heavy, it's weighty, it's big, it's problematic. But I personally disagree. I like to say, and I want to hear from your perspective, but one of the things that I love to think about responsibility is to break it down into responsibility, meaning that at every step, I knew you would be like that on that one. You have the ability to respond to absolutely everything coming up for you, whether it's an inner or an outer situation. And that to me is one of the most beautiful things about taking responsibility for our life.
Yeah. Just you even breaking that word down, because when you were saying taking responsibility for your life journey, which I knew was going to be a great topic, when you said that, I instantly went, I don't want to be an adult. Responsibility.
Yes, it does speak of being this adulting stuff.
There's this mature woman going, I don't want to be an adult. I don't want to parent myself, and it is that word responsibility. So when you were talking about that, I was listening, feeling my body and listening to my body. And I'm like, oh yeah, it is a heavy word. It is a heavy word. When you went responsibility, my whole my shoulders weren't as tight and tense. My butt wasn't clenched. It just went, you're right. You have the ability to respond to anything and everything, however way you want to do it.
That's right.
And just that word of, I don't want to be a parent, responsibility tight, went to responsibility, just softened the whole thing.
Yeah.
How quick was that?
That was like less than a minute.
Yeah,
Less than a minute. Fixed it.
Yeah. And it does, because when you say you're taking responsibility for your life journey,
Mhm.
instantly I was like, yeah, I can talk about this. This is a great one. And then I'm like, oh, got to be responsible. I've got to be an adult, a parent myself, that heavy. And you
Mhm.
just allowed that heavy word to just be 2 words and be okay with it.
And be okay with it. But here's a question I want to pose to you with that ugh feeling is of the parent and I actually, because I have a client that often talks to me of this adulting thing. She doesn't like it either. Adulting thing.
Adulting thing, yeah.
But makes me wonder, and you can answer me this, with that sense of, oh, yuck, this heavy, I have to be an adult. Who are you being responsible to in that moment? Is that peer pressure? Is it something outside of you?
It's the world.
Yeah.
It's the world, and it's the ego got to that. I have to be this type of person,
you have to, because what would people think if you weren't?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And just saying that is total BS.
Mm-hmm.
Total BS. Because in reality, look, you either like me or you don't. And I can't have 100% of people like me. And I don't want 100% of people to like me, because it's those challenges and that make me who I am, and get really determined and fierce about what I'm going to deliver and how I'm going to deliver. And if you don't like the way I deliver it, I'm going to tweak to get somebody else to understand this, or I'm going to learn from that.
Or not, because sometimes somebody doing that,
or not.
Yeah, it is an or not, right? So it's a time to check in with responsibility. Is that feedback something that I need to internalize and tweak my approach or my message? Or is that just their opinion? It's nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that's perfect. That's a perfect one. I love that responsibility. I've funny, because before my pen, my biro, a pen.
Just a pen.
Well, that's what I was saying, a pen. My pen. My pen ran out. Pen. So yeah, my pen. So I picked up another one that was black. And so on my notes of all beautiful light blue, there's this 2 words in black, responsibility. So it's
that's
just really
beautiful.
Out.
That zinger.
Yeah. So there was perfect, so that my pen ran out. Yeah, and it's an outside source, the world. We have to be especially for and someone called me a healer the other day, and I went, I'm not a healer. And then I thought, actually, you are a healer. You are. They can label it whatever you are, but you are a healer. And so we also have our own wobbles. Mm-hmm. We have our own life challenges that help us to mold us to be who we are and what we would like to give to people. And we're not perfect, and nobody is perfect. And if you're thinking people are perfect, then my goodness, you're going to get betrayed through life. You're going to get hurt. You're going to fall very, massively, because those people that you put up on a pedestal up high that you think are amazing are actually going to do those things that are going to hurt you the most, till they come down and realize we're all one. Mm-hmm. We're actually all here on our own journey to be the best we can, whatever that journey is.
Exactly. Whatever that journey is, and making the choices based on what's right in that moment for you.
Yeah.
Because this is another area that I talk a lot with clients, is that all too often I hear people beating themselves up for choices or decisions they've made in the past. They shame themselves, or they feel guilty, or oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done this. And that's not okay. That is actually not taking responsibility for your life. Because if you are being really stepping into this idea that I always have the ability to respond appropriately with what I know, with what's going on, what's the environment, what's the situation, then I always know, and I don't have to look with criticism at choices that I made or choices that somebody else made or didn't make. Right?
Yeah.
So that to me is I find that quite abusive. I try and help people see that you know, somebody looking back into, say, 5-10 years ago and saying, oh, that was dreadful, or I really made some bad mistakes or bad choices. No, you didn't. You made the choices that were right then.
Yeah, and I think you know, you referenced recently the word fail.
Yes.
And I love, and I'm bringing that back in. Fail to you've said, is first attempt in learning.
Yeah.
And when you beat yourself up and, oh, I feel guilty, I said that, or I did that, you know, and, oh, I failed, I should have said that, or I could have done that and it wouldn't have hurt that person, or whatever. And that's exactly it. It's, you know, if we label that a fail, you know, it's just your first attempt in learning for that,
right.
of how to speak to somebody from differently, or how to move your energy differently, or whatever it is. And I think that's that back to ourselves, is just going, okay, if I hadn't have done that and I feel guilty, if I hadn't have done that, you know, feel shameful about that. It's just one of those first attempts in learning. It's just a learning experience. And there are so many people who beat themselves up. And even when I say that, I know when I was on a call with you earlier today, you know, I was beating myself up over certain things. And you know, I could hear my words and go, hang on, no, you did the best you possibly could over this. You know, you actually gave more juice than you normally would, until it became a detriment to my physical,
to
you
your
know,
well-being.
and those things. So that was beautiful to acknowledge that and see that. And that was another attempt in learning. But it's also, hearing it was actually taking responsibility to go, okay, Deborah, what did you do or didn't do that worked?
Yeah.
And what would you do differently? And, you know, and I guess that's another level of that taking responsibility, is just stopping and reflecting.
Yeah. Stopping and reflecting. And to your point, and we've talked about this in other episodes before, about communicating to yourself that you are worthy of your own time and attention, which means you can pause and my favorite thing is to put my hand over my heart. But just pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what is my responsibility in this?
Yeah.
And
what level do I want to play at?
Yes. Yeah. Because the other part, and maybe this is the other bad rap, if you like, that responsibility takes in, is taking ownership for other people's stuff.
No.
That's not being responsible. P.S. It is not being responsible. It's funny. I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and she was feeling really down because she's coming into a new chapter in her life, and she's got this sort of sense of excitement. Who am I going to be? Who do I get to be? But her husband is a bit stuck. And so she's feeling like, oh my gosh, I should go and spend time with him. And I was like, why? He's in his place. He has the opportunity to do things in this way of exploring and figuring out, who am I going to be in this retirement thing. They're retiring. But it's about choice. And so this was my conversation with her, was her responsibility is to her. Number one, our responsibility is always going to be first and foremost to our own core self. I know lots of people are going to go, oh my God, but I have this husband, or I have these kids, or I have this.
Well, that's that, put your own oxygen mask on first. And I get that. Like, you know, and when they say that on the airplane, you go, oh no, I'd put my child's on. Well, you can't put your child's on, because if you're fighting with your child and your child doesn't want it on, you also can't. And so I'm a firm believer on that. But even I have all the tools in the world, sometimes I don't. And that's okay, because I have my attempt in learning. You know?
Right, but here's the other part of that, and is that I sometimes don't too. I'll forget oxygen mask. What's that? Or self-care? Or I can't do that. I don't have time. That's human patterning. We all do stuff like that. But here's the piece: is number one, it happened. It's okay. It's just the way it went, and to let it go. Not telling a story. I'm not going to shame myself. I'm not going to berate myself. because that to me is the other part of responsibility, is that, yep, sometimes I get it. It's all, everything's lining up and I'm in flow with what I need. Other times I might stay up too late. I might have an extra glass of wine. I might do something that's not completely healthy. And the next day is another day and I can choose all over again.
Well, the next day you wake up and you go, what happened to me? I had a rough sleep. And then you go, oh, I know what that was.
Right. But I did that. And, so we've talked about that before. Sometimes we do go and binge on junk food or stay up too late or get up too early.
Well, you get up too late. Well, it's people say things like, oh, I can't go hang out with my friends because, or, in relationships, the wife or husband goes, oh, I don't want you hanging around with Annabelle or Bob because they're a bad influence on you. No, actually, they're not a bad influence on me. They just let me do my own thing and have no judgment.
Yes.
And I do it. And so, no, they're not the bad influence. I'm the bad influence because I allow that. I don't responsibility. I don't, I respond to them and I jump on their train and I do their stuff with them, and that can affect other people. But it's not that they're a quote bad influence. It's just they're there to let me be and have no judgment on those things that you deem wrong in my life.
Exactly. And the other part in that brings me to another point. And this is the other big piece about responsibility, is when you're having somebody, like that was an interesting point you said about, someone, a partner or a spouse saying, oh, I don't want you hanging out with these people, they're a bad influence on you. Well,
which is really common.
Not in my life. Well, actually, not in my current life, I have to say, because I have experienced that actually in a long-standing situation. I experienced that quite badly, which is why I think I can speak to it. But here's the thing, is that I believe that we educate people how to treat us and how to talk to us. This is the whole theme of the responsibility. It's my responsibility. You talk badly to me, it's my responsibility. You talking badly to people, I'm not saying you, Deb, because you never would talk badly to me, I know.
Never. Bullshit. Yep.
Okay, we won't go there.
Okay.
But so here's the thing, is that a person who talks disrespectfully is going to do that no matter who they're talking to. So you can't make it so, but if it's being done to me, I have to stop and pause and look into myself and say, what have I said or done or set up that said that was okay? Right there. See, I'm taking responsibility for it. I'm not being I'm not allowing myself to be in an abusive situation by that in any way, shape, or form, but I'm taking ownership. Somebody is trying to manipulate me, tell me who I can and cannot hang around with, tell me who I can or what I can and cannot say, for instance. Then I have to really check in and say, okay, now I need to take responsibility and ownership for my experience, for my boundaries, for who I am. And so sometimes we attract situations and people like that as that little sharp edge to polish the good or the jewel within us, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Did that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And we it does. I really don't even know how to flow in on that, because it's just really landed on certain things that I allow in. And I don't know if I said this on the previous one or this one, I wouldn't speak to myself. Like I wouldn't allow people to speak to me the way I speak to myself.
Yeah.
And also my internal thoughts that I speak to myself, I wouldn't say that to somebody else.
Right.
I wouldn't, and those things, we're a lot more harsher on our own soul. And I say soul, not on our mind, because it hits us, that it hits our core soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more than if we, spoke externally.
No, you're absolutely right. I completely agree with that, because the head's doing whatever the head does. But when we talk smack about so that's what I say, is that it's super important to take this responsibility place or theme into how you talk about yourself and to yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes when somebody's speaking down to you or manipulating you, it's because you're doing it yourself. And it's coming outside of you to go, hey, wait, listen outside. Right?
And that's what we do. If you don't get your lessons, very quickly on, they become bigger and bigger.
That's
so
right.
if you're betraying your own vision, or if you're not like, so let's just say save money. Let's just go money.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not saving your money and looking after your money and putting a little bit of investment, whether it's $1 a week or putting 50 cents a week or anything aside, just to show yourself that you're worthy of that. If your money goes in and you're living week by week, day by day, which is okay, but put 10 cents aside or 5 cents or 20 cents aside a day or something just to go into a bank account. If you're not doing that, then the universe is going to keep coming in and making you pay higher bills and bigger bills and unexpected bills, because you're not managing your money.
Yeah.
So if you're not managing your finances, crazy stuff will come in. If you're not managing your thoughts, crazy stuff will come in externally to wake you up to go, what's freaking important? Yes. Where are we going? What are we doing? Oh, I remember my friend saying this to me. Oh my gosh, this is what I've been doing to myself.
Yeah.
So look at that learning lesson very quickly on and go, oh, I get that. And I know, like financially, I know people can't afford to put a lot of money. Some people can't afford to put a lot of money savings away. Then just put 10 or 20 cents a week away if that's what it is. But you're showing yourself that you're valuing that. Exactly. And then increase it every couple of months. If you can only afford 20 cents a week, put that aside. The next week, put, the next 2 months, put 30 cents aside, something to actually go, gosh, I've got money in there. Wow. Okay. It may, a month later, you may only have $5 in a savings account, but you go, I did that. I did that. Yeah. Wow. And it may start with something small, but you'll start valuing money and you'll know that money will respect you. Exactly. If you value your mind and nourish your mind with, inspiring things like Deliciously Motivating Mindset podcast.
Absolutely.
And, if you're nourishing your mind with that stuff, more opportunities are going to come your way.
That's right.
Because, and I referenced the Debbie Downer recently. Debbie Downer is, and I can say that because my name is Deborah. Debbie Downer is that frumpy, moody victim, poor me. Oh my God. And you go, and we've all got a friend like that, and we've also done it in ourselves. And when you walk away from that friend, you feel like, they're a leech. They've sucked every ounce of energy on you that Absolutely. You have no blood left out of you to do, but you've allowed that.
You allowed that. And Debbie Downer always says it's not my fault. Right?
Oh my God.
Not my fault. It's not my fault. All this stuff happens. It's not my fault.
Yeah. And you hear people, hear people have a car crash or somebody hits them. They go, it's not my fault. I was just sitting there at the traffic lights. Well, actually, you were late to your appointment. If you had been to your appointment on time, you wouldn't have been sitting at that traffic light.
Yeah.
Or and so you chose to, which is hard for some people to hear.
I know.
I was just sitting there.
Mm-hmm. I know. That's the thing.
At that time.
That's the thing that I've had, because I've been talking about responsibility for years, and I've had some people come up and really, really get triggered and challenge me. I still hold on to it. It's if it's in my life, if it's happening to me, it's my responsibility. I created it.
Yeah.
And so people will immediately come up and say things like, oh, you're going to talk about somebody in a war-torn area or somebody in an earthquake or somebody being bombed, their responsibility. And to your point, I love what you just said. It's like, well, the thing is that as souls, we actually all chose to do what we're doing. And we are always making choices. Sometimes it doesn't look like it, especially with the Debbie Downers. They're never going to be able to see because everything's not their fault. But there can be a magical opening when somebody that's always seen that it's that idea that life's happening to you as opposed to through you. when you take responsibility, you realize that life is flowing through you always.
I love that. Not to you, it's through you.
Yeah. But don't you agree? It's like, if I'm responsible, then and you get to have some. I have a big sense of humor is something that I find very important to deal with lots of stuff, even the harsh things.
Welcome to my world. Yes.
But
it helps.
It really does. It really does, because part of the suffering is that we can sometimes get so enmeshed into the suffering or the negativity or the things that are wrong.
The drama.
The drama, absolutely. The stories, the drama, the downness, the chaos. That's your word, the chaos.
Yeah,
right?
Chaos. The wobbles. Yeah.
The wobbles, the challenges. To the degree that all of those are there, the optimistic, the positive, the light, the good is there too. Because this is something that I've said for many years, and people always get a kick out of it when I say it, is that I think negativity has too much Velcro. Yeah, Velcro in New Zealand, right?
We do have Velcro. And it's loud and it's obnoxious.
Exactly. But it gets you stuck, right? So this is the thing, is that's what I'm saying about the Debbie Downers, or the people who don't want to take responsibility for their lives or feel like life is happening to them. No matter what I do, everything always goes wrong or always happens this way. It's because there's too much Velcro on that. It's all dark. Yeah. How about just pause and say, what's good? What is there to appreciate? There's always something to be grateful for and to appreciate and take responsibility for. Look what I just did. I loved the scenario that you said about taking ownership for your money. It doesn't matter if your savings is only 10 cents into your piggy bank.
It's your mindset. Your mindset just goes, I'm valuing myself. Mm-hmm. I'm paying myself something. Yep. And you never touch that savings. I mean, if you touch that savings, that's another story. But it doesn't matter how big it is. You're actually doing something for you. Drinking water instead of a fizzy drink, you're actually doing something for you.
Yep.
But if you drink a fizzy drink, that's okay as well. Just know that it may have an impact on your body. It may not. This is that's it.
And so the fizzy drink, just if you're going to do that, do one, not all day long.
A whole 2.5 liters.
2.5 liters. No, don't do that.
that's gonna because your body's going to take responsibility for you, and I tell you what, you'll be a Debbie Downer in no time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, your body's going to do, and this is something about that I've always felt about like eating McDonald's burgers and white flour products and heavy lace sugar products. Your body, that isn't being responsible for your body and to yourself. But I also think that your body goes into shock and says, well, hey, I wanted nourishment, and you just threw something in like a Big Mac. That's not nourishment. I don't know if you've ever had this, but so many people that I know that do eat like fast food or McDonald's burgers will often say things like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just had that and I'm always hungry. It's like, it's because your body's still saying, can I have something that's nourishing, please?
Can I have something that feels great?
That fuels me.
It is so true. It is so true. And often I find the McDonald's, do you have KFC over there? You must.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the smell, I love the smell. And the smell and the thought of it, and then the smell, yum, yum. And you have that first bite, you're like, oh, why?
I know.
You've got to that point. Now, look, there's nothing wrong with McDonald's and there's nothing wrong with KFC, but I know my body doesn't react as healthily as if I have a different option.
It's so funny that you say KFC, because that's always been my thing with KFC, is that it smells great. The spicing in it is wonderful. And then you take one bite and my stomach immediately goes, what the hell?
It's funny. I was with someone recently and I had KFC, and she said, are you taking the skin off? I said, oh yeah, and she's like, so really you're just having the chicken? I went, yeah. And she was like, but the skin's the best part of the KFC. And I'm like, oh. I just don't like the skin. And it was so funny. And she was like, "Oh my God, I could date you because if we go out, you can have the chicken because I don't like the chicken, and I can have the skin." And I'm like, I know, and I just had to laugh because it's like, when you have the chocolates, there's always somebody who likes the, like, I now like Turkish delights. I never used to like the Turkish delights. Don't tell me what's in them. I don't even want to know. But you find that person who just likes the ones that you don't like. So I was like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Oh,
I'll
that's
have the
good.
chicken.
That's good to know. You can have the Turkish delight. I don't like them.
Oh, I think the older I've got, I like the Turkish delights. It's, it's taking responsibility, but it is. And when you do that sort of stuff, but you have to take responsibility for you doing it, and you have to go, and instead of going, oh, McDonald's is so bad for me, and I don't know, and they lure me in. No, you didn't prepare your food before you left. You ran out of time. You weren't organized enough. Mm-hmm. So take responsibility to this. Don't just go, oh, it was convenient and it was, then it cost so much money, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, hang on, you could have just made something from home. Mm-hmm. It's not like you've got nothing at home, and it could have worked.
Or, and I don't know what it's like in New Zealand, but there are places you can go to for semi kind of ready to go things that are healthy choices.
A lot more are popping up now.
Yeah. So it's always a choice. It's always a choice. And I don't know about you, but I'm much more willing to feel hungry and postpone eating something if I can't find something that I know is going to be okay for my body.
And well, I would say that's not me 100% of the time. 100, I do get to that point. I just need to eat now, and then you eat, and then you, and you have so indigestion and everything because you've literally inhaled a meal that could take 30 minutes and 6 or 7 minutes, and then you wonder why you can't breathe and everything's burning, and and you just go, why did I do that? But I would, there are a lot more places for convenience now out there that you can do, and just finding out what you are. And I think that's also, society is more aware of people, and we've got people who love meat, we've got people who don't love meat, we've got people who love who are gluten intolerant, people who aren't gluten intolerant. Society now is more aware of other people's options, so they're giving more.
Yes.
And you don't just have to have the toxin food. Some people can live on McDonald's. There was a guy, it was Subway. There was a guy. I don't know
yes.
Gerald or Jared or something.
Jared. Yeah.
I wonder whatever happened to him. I might have to Google it. But he ate Subway for a year, and I think he became a sponsor, and that was his thing.
Yeah, because he lost a whole bunch of weight.
Yeah, just by eating Subway. But if you said to someone, I'm having Subway, some people go, oh, that's not good for you. All that bread, all that, whatever. But
no, that's a really good comment on that, because this idea of taking responsibility. So I said to you that I would forego giving in to my hunger until I could get something healthy. That's not always the case. I would say it's high up there for me, but it's high up there for me because I've not always been that way, and I've paid a big price. So my taking responsibility, exactly. My responsibility to me is like, no, if that's got white, I have a wheat intolerance, so I have to watch that.
You wouldn't have Subway. Yeah,
exactly. I would, but I have. So every so often I will. If I'm going out to a restaurant, I'll just decide. I tune into my body and say, yeah, I'd really like that crusty roll, and I'm okay with that. But it's a conscious choice in that moment.
Responsibility.
Taking responsibility. Because here's the thing: when we go into that space, like you're saying, oh my God, white flour products, and that's terrible. And then let's say that you have one. That you go and have that Subway or have that burger. Yeah. You've just set it up. Your body is saying, oh my God, you're poisoning me, because your response to it is it's bad, it's poison, it's terrible. It's people that do that are not healthy. And then you go and eat it. So that's why it's so important to always stay mindful of what's going on. How am I feeling at the moment? Because there are other times where I'll be like, no. There's no way I can eat wheat right now.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, because as you say that, a lot is coming up in my mind. I went out for dinner with a group of powerful women powerful, powerful woman.
Mhm.
And when I say powerful woman, they speak up. They say it how it is. They shoot from the hip.
Yep.
That's it. But interesting, that night we went out, and one was gluten intolerant and one was vegan.
Mhm.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was 5 of us, and just out of those 2. And the gluten intolerant got tacos that were not gluten intolerant, and the vegan was bought vegetables with bacon in it.
Oh dear.
Now, so it was quite. It actually became a laugh. It actually became a laugh at the dinner table. But both ladies opted not to, because the waitress was so flustered. Oh my gosh, I actually just wanted to fire her, but I also wanted to give her a hand and get up and just help her, because she clearly wasn't in the brain space to do anything that night from what I saw.
Mhm.
And this was probably our 3rd meal that had come out, by the 3rd time she'd delivered everything, because she said, oh, who ordered this? No, it was the wrong table. It was we all felt for this poor waitress.
Mhm.
Because she clearly didn't take responsibility and say, I need to check out here. But
Yeah.
the 2 women both actually just went, she said, look, I'll be fine. I'll just have this taco. Worst case, I'll just be on the toilet all night long. And the other woman went, it's only bacon. Now, she, only bacon? You're vegan. And so they opted both to sacrifice their own body and their own mind and everything just to not put any more pressure on the waitress.
Not to rock the boat. That's
and-
awesome.
Yeah, and one of the women who was at the table actually spoke up. But it was quite interesting just to go, you know what, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. I'm just going to take this one on. So they just took responsibility and just said, look, we're not going to do anything anymore. We're just going to take this one on and just do it. Just do it. And then the other lady who at the table spoke up, and the lady was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And she just looked shattered, but she actually took it really well. And when it came to paying, we got a whole heap of our meal free, which wasn't that we expected, but it was just more just letting the guy know about it, and to be aware of his staff. Just be aware of your staff. If you see she's doing these things, just be aware of it. Everybody can wait another 5 minutes for their meal or whatever. Just, look after her. But it worked out well. And funnily enough, the 2 women, she had no problem eating the bacon, which I thought was even more extreme than eating lamb or chicken or anything. Bacon to me was the worst type thing. Yep. And the woman said, she messaged us all the next day and said, oh, and by the way, I didn't have any issues and wasn't on the toilet all night long. And so we were just, because she just went, I take responsibility. I've let the attachment go that this is going to happen to me. Right. And it didn't happen. The universe didn't deliver her with that, so.
You've proven, that's beautiful. And I'm not surprised.
It was because she wasn't attached to the whole, okay, well, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to surrender and take responsibility of my choices right now for this food I'm going to eat. And the other one was like, and the other one was like, I enjoyed the bacon, but I wouldn't eat it again. Like I've done it, and I didn't miss it. Yeah. And it was lovely the way it all unfolded for us.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful illustration of what I was trying to say. But I love the fact that you just said surrender. Because I think that surrender is a huge part of responsibility.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we do forget.
Yeah. There is so much power in surrender. Is that this may not control be the best thing. Exactly. We can't control everything. But I still have the ability to respond. Yeah. So I can surrender the things I have no control over and give that up and make choices and deal with what I can do right here, right now.
Yeah.
And so so this is what I would really hope that people take away from this, that responsibility is not a bad word. We always have the ability to respond to absolutely everything. And let's face it, there's suffering, there's tragedy, there's sadness, there's hardship. It's part of life. We can't pretend that it's not there, but we can always
can't hide under the blanket.
Yeah. Life is for living and making these choices and steering through all of the stuff that we have put in front of us, right? That we're making the choices for. So awesome conversation, Deb. This has been really good. Surrendering into responsibility. Hey.
Yeah. And you know, even though we said for your life journey, your life journey, that's like from birth to end.
Yeah.
But you know, that's day by day, minute by minute, you know, breath by breath. That's all part of your life journey. It's not just the next month I'm taking responsibility for that. It's right here, right now, in the present.
It has to be
that.
It's
my life journey.
It has to be that way, because that is where our joy and our embodiment of what we are here to experience is, in this moment, and then in this moment, and then in this moment, right?
Yeah.
It's always moving. So that's why it's so important to look at, if you want to take responsibility for your life, good. Let's take responsibility for what's in that mug sitting in front of you. Are you drinking water? Are you taking your water, slurping your water? So that and it is, and then it's like, that's why we're a bit like exercising a muscle, because then it does become easier to take to make that as your default operating standard, is always checking in. Am I taking ownership for how I'm responding and how I'm showing up in this?
Yeah, I'm just going to add another spin on this, as we do when we go to wrap up. We throw that in one. You know, we compare ourselves to others.
Yeah.
And so we say, you know, you're in a conversation with someone and they go, oh my gosh, they're so intelligent. They're so up to play with worldly matters. Take responsibility. If you don't watch the news and if you don't read stuff and research properly, you're not going to be up for play.
Yep.
So don't compare yourself to others unless you're in that playing field, and their level of intelligence is always going to be different to your level, because they've taken responsibility to educate them on things. You know, you and I can talk about this stuff, but there's other people who can't talk about it.
Yeah.
So don't compare themselves to us, because we live, breathe, work it, you know, when there's other people who do other things.
Yeah.
You know, I work for myself, so I'm a different person to somebody who works for somebody. You know, I'm a parent, so I'm different to somebody who's not a parent.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a dog owner, so I have different thoughts about dogs and spot dog things in shopping malls over baby stuff.
Or cat things, like I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Yeah, dog and a cat person. Yeah. Crazy cat lady, crazy dog lady. Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is take responsibility for who you are and in your world. Yeah.
That's a beautiful way for us to wrap this up, because I think that when a person compares themselves to somebody and says, oh gosh, they're so well versed in that, or so wise on that, pause for a moment and see, what are you wise on? Because the fact that you're seeing somebody's wisdom doesn't mean you have to be wise in their niche. You've got it somewhere. So turn the responsibility, says, I have something in me. What's my gift? What's my zone of expertise? My unique gift, my unique voice. And it's there. It's always
and then
there.
Share it on our page. Let us know what sparks you joy and gives you the glitter. The purple and gold glitter.
Purple and gold. Or what is your favorite color? What lights you up?
Oh yeah, okay, we'll ask them. What's your favorite color? Yeah.
Well, just from a perspective though of when you see it, does it anchor that connection to source, that connection to you? So I'm not trying to be trite and say what's your favorite color. What's the color that says this? And maybe it's the color of your soul. You know, I always remember doing an energy healing session on somebody, and when we were finished, she said, "Oh my God, Moira, even your energy is purple."
Oh, that's so cute. Was that a good thing? Yeah, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I thought it was an awesome thing. That's like, totally,
that's acknowledgement.
You saw me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is. It's not just what colours. Yeah, it is what lights you up and what brings you joy, or what brings you glitter or sparkles, or.
And it doesn't have to be a color. Yeah,
No.
what grounds you? It doesn't have to be a color. Maybe it's a sound. Maybe it's a song. Maybe it's a dance. Maybe it's some kind of creativity. What's the thing that makes you light up, that makes you feel like a big capital yes, capital letters? It's all about responsibility too. Knowing that is an important part, I think.
Yeah, it is. And you're on your life journey. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome,
I'm
Deb.
loving these. Oh,
Me too. This has been an awesome conversation. We have to wish you a great goodbye. And before we do, quickly check in. 0 to 10. Where are you? I'm going to put myself at a 9. I'm up to 9, edging right up into the 10.
I feel if I give myself a 10, that means there's no room for improvement.
Yes.
So I'm going to say 9.9.
Okay, good. I'm good with that. Although I would give you permission to say 12 if you ever needed to do that. So yes.
Yeah, I do. I feel like I'm ready to tackle on that day of anything that's going to keep me on my life journey and take responsibility.
That's awesome. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And please do hop into that group and let us know how's this helping you or impacting you. We'd love to have your feedback and interact with you more.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Moira.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Internet. Yeah.
Thank you, Internet.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.